Thank you for tuning in to Andronetalks Radio, gathering as one in our sovereign truth from a galactic perspective, exploring our world with new ideas, knowledge, and a promise of a better future. Galactic discussions for galactic-minded people. Andronetalks.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Andronetalks Radio. I have a special guest today. I have Anthony Zender here, who's one of the associates of the ACIO and also was a military Marine Corps infantryman. And here he is. He's going to share with us some of his ideas about what's been going on in a few different areas. We're going to reflect on some of the movies that have been out that are disclosing information. And as you know, we do this often. We'll take a look at a current movie and then have it, see that there is some kind of storyline or thread related to something that actually happened or will happen or a future event. So without further delay, hello, Anthony. How are you?
I'm good, Jessica. Thank you for having me on your show on the disclosures. I've been doing this for like 10 years now, and the disclosures is pretty much now my only source. I have the one show I'm really looking to get information out on, because it is coming from the level of the ACIO and in the disclosure community. Each part of the community is privy to whatever information they're privy to, and it only goes to such a certain point, because they're all involved with signing non-disclosure agreements. So they can't, with the government, so they can't get out the information, like people like David Wilcock, Corey Good, like people like that have been prominent in the disclosure community. They can't say it all like we can. So having a platform to be able to get out the truth, like unedited, uncut, is a rare obviously a rare thing, with what we're doing with dealing with censorship and all that. But we are fighting against the censorship by getting this information out, especially like on the ACIO's level, because releasing this information is making a change in the timeline. We are reaching people out there in the community with this information, because I've seen other shows starting to talk about the ACIO's information. What Peter the Insider has come forward with, which in my personal experience, when I found out I was a super soldier, when I had the black helicopter phenomenon, when I noticed the black helicopter phenomenon happen around me, that's when I knew that something was up. So that's when I went down the rabbit hole. I chose the red pill to find out what was behind that, and I got the red pill. I got to go down the rabbit hole, and I'm still going down it. But that led me to, it led me to James Rink's Super Soldier Talk. And that led me to learning about me being a super soldier, my lab, all the information I needed to know about being a military abductee super soldier in my life. And then once I started getting that information, all the things in my life, started to make sense. All the unusual, unexplainable things, all the explanations started to come to me to explain how I was involved in these programs, which we're going to talk about the reason for them today, with what we talk about the Tomorrow War, because that's what people that are involved in my labs are being involved in, is traveling back and forth in time And
Well, before we get into that part, why don't you tell us a little bit about your interaction with Peter the Insider?
Right, and that is important because when I found out I was a super soldier, I just wanted to know everything. I wanted to know it all. I never read books before, but then I started reading everything. And then, when I was on James Ring Super Soldier Talk and was, consistently staying up with that, that's when Peter came in, and I got introduced to him, got to talk to him, and he got to get into my files. And then the information that he gave me about me being a sleeper agent for Kruger and Monarch, because I've done work for a lot of different agencies, being infiltrated as a super soldier into all these different corporations, stealing, sabotaging, gathering information, all that. So I got in, with Peter, he started reading me all my stuff on my files, about being an agent for Kruger and Monarch and how many missions I'd been on, how many planets I'd been to, and he just confirmed a lot of the memories that I had of all the missions that I remember that weren't dreams. They're actually memories of, and they come through you once you the memories come through in your dreams because that's you getting access to your Akashic records. So
right, or if you did a regression of something like that. But I do want to definitely clarify this part in case someone, because you said it was connected to your work was connected to Kruger and Monarch. Just to differentiate that Kruger is not Monarch. Kruger is Kruger, and they're all to Gabriel Kruger.
They're independent, corporations with their own agendas.
Right. So Kruger is working for the good, for the benefit of humanity. Monarch is using humanity for agendas. So the people that talk about the bad experiences of super soldiers or being, tortured or being misused for different things that they really don't consent to, that's what Monarch is doing. Kruger is, literally a conscious working effort to help the planet. So it's a separate, completely separate entity. And unfortunately, when they see someone like you, who's quite talented and has a lot of abilities in the astral, both the good and the bad are going to want to use you for different things. And before you fully awaken to what's going on, that's when you realize that, both we're getting you to do certain things, which, could end up being contradictory or whatever. It's challenging because it's not your choice, obviously.
It isn't your choice, but it is also your choice as well, because what I've learned is, the more sovereignty that we get, the more freedom we get.
Right.
Away from the system, away from the controllers. That's been my personal mission here, is like with the schools that I've been in, everything is learning about sovereignty and freedom and disconnecting myself from the matrix and system and becoming sovereign and free myself. And that does determine your allegiance, because if you're able to be in control of yourself, no one is going to be able to use you. So
but
it's
that's part of that is acknowledging and being aware and wanting to be aware, because some people get some of the information they said, I don't want to hear anymore.
I will admit, like, for me, I'm a soldier, I'm a warrior, I'm a Marine. I volunteer for what I do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I know that there are millions of MyLabs that are taken beyond their will. I will admit that it did happen to me when I was 6 years old, but I had already agreed to that in a past life that would happen to me. Again, to be taken to fight the evil, because what Kruger's is involved in doing is the necessary, I guess, bad for the good, the necessary evil for the good. Because when I say necessary evil, I'm not going to say evil, but it's just like understanding warfare. It's complicated, but someone has to stand up. Someone has to fight against what is wrong. You know, what's and what the elite are doing right now. There are operations going on, gigantic military operations, which I will be getting into later, because can be talking about the dumbs being taken out, because where I am located, personally, for the 9 days straight, 10 days straight, there was earth-shattering earthquakes, like concussive blasts going on for 10 days straight, and it was not normal. And I had heard that right before that happened, that they would be taking out the deep underground military bases because the children were rescued. So then the next step was to then take them out. So that's actually what's happening right now. And there's I mean, I'm just going to continue on with the information that's coming through to me, but there's so much going on right now. Obviously on so many different levels, so many different events, but they all are really connected. And part of with the deep underground military bases being taken right now, you know, people all around the world right now are feeling earthquakes, you know, but those are the dumbs being taken out. And what is happening is the elite are getting taken out right now. You know, the negative extraterrestrials, you know, their presence here is getting eradicated. I talked to Peter a while ago, but I believe he said the technology that was being used to eradicate these bases were fusion bombs. I think they're fusion bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and plus the space-based weaponry is being used against it too, like rods of God. This is all out war that we're in the middle of right now, you know, here on Middle Earth. So you know, it's happening right now, and that's why people are hearing these explosions, earthquakes, earth changes are happening. But this is all leading to the grid going down, because I mean, I can connect everything up. Because what I have heard is you know, Operation Starfall was released, I believe it was 3 weeks ago, and the people can look into that, but they're releasing the satellites that are going to be replacing the other system with, like, the quantum financial system, the quantum internet. That's what Operation Starfall's is being used for, is to put up the new satellite system, because the old satellite system is going to be taken down, you know, and that's when the grid's going to go down, the cell phones are going to go down, because in order for there to be a reset, everything has to go down. That's part of the plan.
But yeah, and we talked about that, and whether that actually manifests in this reality, it's somehow there is going to be a switchover, but whether it manifests in this reality that here or not is still, I mean, I still think it's up in the air whether that happens. However, you know, like you say, you know, it's always good to be prepared for anything, anyhow, for whatever can come up, because even if there isn't a full shutdown of the grids in our context of existence here, there are still many little things that the system, the old system's doing to fight off whatever. At any time they start to lose power, they retaliate in one way or another. So it's always good to have some level of preparation. And so I think that's where we're at, and we're learning from the information that we're getting from Peter, also a reflection of what's going on that's coming through, say, Hollywood or Netflix, or, you know, Peter said that they do use Netflix a lot to reveal information, video games or whatever, and letting us know what their intentions are, whether or not this manifests here. Because there are a lot of things they wanted to manifest here that will not, because of super soldier work, and because there are those that are stepping in, and there's many that are involved in trying to help. But there are those that are working very closely with the ACIO, and that's someone like you and myself and you know, Johann, Michael, and Olaf. And so we have, you know, people that are in the inner core of what's going on. And then, of course, I mean, there's other groups elsewhere. We're not saying we're the only ones, but we're speaking on the behalf of what we are doing in particular.
Right, and that's that like you said, the future is not set in stone. You know, it's always obviously constantly in flux, based on what's happening right now. So, I just know that what's the plan is, you know, they played out these cards. They've played out all their cards in the game. You know that they're playing. If anyone refers to the Illuminati card game, it is
Yeah.
really all in there, but their plan is being allowed to being played out, you know, and so the next actual phase of that plan, you know, because they have the pandemic cards, they have their whole plan on there, but the next phase is actually, you know, because they're losing control, and they're gonna implement each of their things to try to keep the fear narrative instilled. And when each thing fails, they're just going to go to the next thing. You know, now that isn't really doing what they're wanting to do, now they're going to bring in their next plan, which is, you know, it's getting more and more unbelievable as we're going on through time, but it's not really unbelievable when you know what they're doing.
Yep. And so, but we had this conversation yesterday, and I said, yeah, they have their cards in there, but we might have the wild card, and that's gonna, you know, you never know. There's the ETs that are working with us, Council of Five, the Intergalactic Council, and some others. You never know. Sometimes they send us a little something to help things along, to try to, you know, protect. Unfortunately, it's gotten a lot further than we wanted to, and I'll say CVD because, for you know, obvious purposes, to avoid any conflict. I think that they went a lot further than I feel comfortable with. I actually feel very upset about it, and I know that many people do. So we have to keep on sending protection, and I also believe that they're, with the assistance of those that have the ability to shift timelines and to do different things, we can also recover a lot of people that unfortunately got hook, line, and sinker into this deal without having any idea, knowledge, and just in survival mode, thinking that the desperation of the desert experience, being trapped inside their homes, very, very, it kind of encouraged them to be so excited to go out and work and do whatever they were doing that they were willing to do anything. And that was an unfortunate thing. It's very unfortunate because no one really took the time to find out. There was too much trust and too much fear regarding a lot of this agenda. And a lot of 90% of how they operate is manipulation and fear. And if people can just step back away from that fear and know that the universe is here to protect them.
Yeah, the fear stepping. I've learned that it comes through knowledge. You know, it comes through knowledge. That's what we're here to do, is bring, you know, as much as we can, is enlighten the people to the truth. And you know, you mentioned the topic about COVD, and I do have some information on that to touch upon that, because you know, I've talked to Peter and everything, and done a lot of studying about what's going on and what the employment of this biological AI weapon was. It basically, you know, Bill Gates he has a connection with Umbrella. That actually, the connection between these corporations, because that's what I'm going to make for people. The connection between the corporations. Bill Gates is working with Umbrella and the CDC and WHO and all of them. This information can be gotten off of the COVD map made by Dylan Lewis Monroe. He runs the Deep State Mapping Project, and he has made the most highest levels of intelligence maps that I've seen. So if anybody wants to get information, those maps are essential, because I've even had meetings where I've been speaking to like President Trump about those maps. So this is coming from those maps, because what this does actually link everything together, connects everything together, because the implementation of COVD was for a timeline distortion. in our timeline, because right now there's two timelines going on. There's the timeline distortion timeline, Joe Biden insanity, AI takeover, enslavement of humanity, Borg mind, just vaxes, transhumanism. There's that timeline gone, but then there's also the timeline optimization timeline is also happening parallel right next to it. So we're having these two timelines, and whatever is going on is going to be what you experience. So the timeline optimization is the Great Awakening. It's Donald Trump and Nessera and Jessera and all the technologies being coming back into the world to help change and help the world out. So there's literally, and there's so much information behind each of these two timelines that are playing out simultaneously right now. But
and then there's more information too on top of that, because Donald Trump has a section of information and bringing in a portion of the information. The ACIO has others that are around the world. So this is a universal thing. And while the U.S. were protesting over certain things, over the past couple of years, so many other nations were doing the same thing, and we're talking globally, right? So each one is holding their part. So for the Americans, this is very interesting about what Donald Trump's doing, but for the rest of the world, they don't see themselves fitting in that picture, and that's because they have their own that have own representatives that are there. They're supposed to support them. And so, and the ACIO is racing the globe, and they're concerned about how all benefit, not just one nation. Although we are Americans, so it's normal for us to talk about that. But on the other hand, this whole thing is a universal shift in change in our reality. As we start to pull out of it, they bombard us with all these lies and manipulations in different ways to hook us back into their paradigm in the slave system, and we keep trying to pull out. And people shouldn't. You don't ever give up, because it's either freedom or freedom. There's no other option. And so, that's where we're at.
It is where we're at. And in the schools that I had been in, the mystery schools, before this even happened, we were told that this would happen. This was going to be what happened. Viruses would be coming to the West, and just to get prepared for the societal collapse and everything, because and now it's happening right in front of our eyes. It's just, you see it, and you want to be prepared for it. We were taught how to be sovereign and just not able, like in the school, we were taught not to be distracted by anything outside of us, because
right.
There's going to be so much confusion, so much chaos, so much.
You got to look within. You got to go within and something like this, because otherwise it can be very, very, disarming, and people will be. That's why a lot of people are surrendering, because they're not going within, and they're feeling like they don't have any other options. I think it was yesterday, they came out with a bill, $3.5 trillion of the taxpayers' money in the United States. That's an awful lot of money. Mm-hmm. And then they said it won't cost the American people anything. It doesn't even make any sense. And this is the kind of stuff that they've been spewing out there. And it's like, what is going on here? Nobody is saying, stop it. Stop stealing from us. Stop manipulating. Stop doing all these different things.
Their corruption is just getting that's kind of part of the plan too.
It's blatant.
It's just to let them just reveal themselves with their own corruption as people are waking up, as we're ascending and getting into higher levels of consciousness and vibration. I mean, people are waking up. They're seeing through it. The illusion, like the clairvoyance of our consciousness, is kind of coming back. Because it's been so cluttered with what we were up against, with the mind control. And Now we've made a shift. Like they say, like like the channeling, we've passed the marker. You know what I'm saying? We've gotten past the marker. We've reached enough people to start the change. You know?
Oh, we have. We definitely have, and I say that, you know, even the listeners that I have, and I don't have a huge following, but the people that I have that are listening, they're powerful. They're absolutely amazing, and I'm really, really proud of them because, you know, they hear the information, and we do see the things shifting. We see it. You know, Peter will give us insight. It's like, you know, having an insider is very rare. Not a lot of people have, you know, true insiders that they can work with, and we're very, very fortunate to get that information, to see what the agendas are in advance, so we can, you know, redirect our energy into a positive timeline. And
yeah, we've been dealing with narratives, you know, that have been basically made for us because we do create our reality. You know, we actually have that power. They've known that. That's why we've been kind of creating their reality through us. But since you said we do have an insider that's getting the information out without a narrative, you know, without an agenda. It's
right,
just
right.
which is creating that reality, which is which is not driven by a narrative or anything like that. So
yeah, it's just a heads up. It's a heads up that unless something changes, this is a potential, because he doesn't say anything set in stone. He says it's a potential that we're going into that direction. If we understand that things are, you know, if you're driving a car and you know that there's a cliff ahead, it's a lot easier than to come up and then the cliff's right there. It's a little too late, isn't it? Maybe not, unless you have these amazing reflexes. But for most people,
you don't want to have to resort to those. You know,
you don't want to. It's this is the thing. You know, whether you agree or you disagree about what is ahead of us is not the point. We do see that those agendas, usually we have been seeing that what Peter said. We will see the truth and the facts of it. You know, somewhere or another it comes up in the news. So he'll say, tell me something. A year or two later, it's there. It's right there. It's in the news. And I had an incident where he was talking about androids and how the androids look completely human and Detroit becomes human and all of this information. And everyone had a hard time believing it. We actually found a fair over in Japan where they showed this woman standing there. And I mean, you really can't tell. And she had this little blue light like in her temple, like exactly the way Peter described it.
Yeah, it's part of the transhumanism takeover, you know.
It is, yeah, and it's not just, some of them are just straight out androids. Some of it is because they have created androids to fill the cities, some of the cities, and they're heavy workers, and they don't require a whole lot. They don't require the food, which seems to bother people like Gates and some of these others that were consumers, and the Rockefellers, Rothschilds are upset that we're consumers. Even though they are too, but these androids are, you know, they're workers. They found them they're in China. There was someone traveling through China, and said, "Hey, look, you know, we can't figure out why this town doesn't have any schools. Where's the children?" And it turned out it was like an android society. So our population is getting filled with non-humans. And they're doing all these different things. They're extremely advanced. People don't want to look in and do the research. They just want to criticize and say, you know, conspiracy theorist or, you know, paranoid or whatever they want to call it. But if you start doing the research, the information is available. It's out there.
That's what's the key to learning the truth is the research, you know, and in the intelligence cycle, you know, CIA agents actually use this technique, but you know, you don't be parochial, which means you don't just take in one source of information. You have to read it all to get to the truth. You know what I'm saying? To develop. And if you can't believe it, you haven't gone far enough in your learning and research, because there gets to be a certain point where you get to it and you're like, you believe it. and so because you see it in the world, and then that's what happens to the most in-depth researchers. They go all the way to get to the truth. They're not afraid of it. That's why it's revealed to us. So
I'm of the opinion you leave everything open. Someone says something, you say okay, and at some point or another you do the research to find it. Sometimes you won't find the information right away. Sometimes it sort of shows up later. But I think the openness, we have to be open because we are now in a very strange paradigm where the traditional way of thinking is not cutting it anymore. It's actually going to put people at a disadvantage if they can't step out of their normal way of thinking. Because we have added elements now, whether it's highly advanced corporations, there's groups coming from the future into our reality because like those scenarios, the Earth could get destroyed and all humanity could be dead, which means that they don't exist in the future. It's all those different things that can come about. And so with that comes their advanced thinking and futuristic thinking and technology. So we have a lot of different things going on our planet right now.
Just touching upon that, like everything that's going on, you did want to talk about the movies and whatnot.
Yep.
Because when you're a super soldier, especially in like an awakening, healing, someone that's been a super soldier, you've been involved in time travel, and you, when you're part of your healing process is understanding how time travel works, and how you've been involved in it, and how it's possible that you can be in the future and then wake up in your bed the next day, and like, so that's been the process I've been understanding. And part of the process has been learning about time travel, how it's possible, and one of the actual movies, because when you're a super soldier, like you said, the phenomenon of soft disclosure is contained in all the TV shows, video games, and movies. So if you're enlightened to the truth, you see all of it. You know what I'm saying? You see all of it and you feel all of it. So I could go for days for soft disclosure, just movies and everything, which we could do that and put that up on the site. But it's like an education. You know what I'm saying? It's like an education. And so one of the movies that actually, because Christopher Nolan is a director, that's, he's touched upon a lot of things like magic. He touched upon magic and The Prestige, and then he also made Interstellar, which touched upon time travel and all that. And now he made the movie Tenet, and Tenet, he's going into concepts, how in Inception as well. There was Inception about how you go into people's minds and steal their ideas, and he's getting on real concepts, and he's getting them out in movies. He could very well be actually from the future. I really believe he probably is. But in Tenet, there's two concepts in there that anyone that's involved in time travel, you're going back and forth. You're going back and forth, and so when you're back here, because those of us that have been involved in Secret Space Program, we're involved in like 20 and backs, and I know I've been involved in probably like multiple, because there's I've been on like 4,000 missions, 5,000 missions, so I've probably been involved in so many 20 and backs. But what happens though is you're, like Peter does say, the window is 20 years. The time travel window is 20 years. So I've been figuring that out, like where I am in time, like when I'm experiencing things in the future, and that's like 20 years, in the future from now. And so when you're sent back in time, like, and you're sent into now, in the present time, the way they show it in Tenet, is genius, like how time is, because those that have been in time travel are kind of like seeing time happening in reverse, like non-linearly. Like instead of linearly, like from start to finish, they're seeing it from finish to start. So it's kind of like a time inversion and a time reversal. People that have been involved in time travel will experience that phenomenon. And they show that in the movie Tenet. They kind of touch upon time travel and the concepts of it, you know, to understand it more. And that's just for the time travel aspect, but also the movie The Tomorrow War, you know.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about Tenet for a second. I thought it was interesting. It's an interesting concept, and this can get into like the doppelganger effect and all this of seeing yourself through time, because there was scenes where he literally is in the future and then he's coming back and going into the past, and there's this collision of himself. And that is, as a super soldier, that's a tricky thing.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
The paradox, you know, of that is a paradox, but it's actually like, if you're a super soldier, you actually can exist in two places at once. That's part of the
more than that. Yeah.
Right. Actually, way more than that. So
Yeah.
that's part of the understanding it. You know, multi-dimensionality. That I mean, that's just kind of you know, getting into those concepts. But the Tomorrow War actually, I mean, when I saw that movie, the trailer for it, when I saw it, I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, this is too much right now. I'm like, this is like the truth right in your face, because, you know, it showed our society here, you know, living everyday life. You know what I'm saying? You know, and they're watching the soccer game, and then boom, you know what I'm saying? The people from the future come into the soccer game, and
Right.
they're like, we are you from your future, you know, and the guy's like, he's like, is this a joke? Is this really happening? And
that's all they know, which people are, who's involved. Yeah, they identify them.
That's it. So they come back in time because they're in a war in the future. And that is that. I mean, and if you're in a war in the future, you're in a war right now. You know what I'm saying too? So it's in that movie hit home for me though, because it shows the connection between like the continuum between the future and now, that there is a future happening right now, and everything we're doing now is you know having an effect on that future, and then everything in the future is actually having an effect on now, and there's
right.
And so anyone that's been involved in my labs, you know, that should hit home for them, because they show people getting recruited to fight a war against aliens in the future. So that's really a disclosure right there, because that's what is actually happening.
Well, when that movie came out, not when they started creating it, but when that movie came out, I contacted the group, right? So let everyone know, because I was interacting with Peter. Peter came back. He was like, I don't know what to think. You know, he was like, oh my God, you know, you won't believe this. And he's telling me what he was fighting. And it was these weird chimeras. And he was describing them, and then they had, you know, this certain look, and they can move really fast, and they just weren't prepared. They weren't ready to fight against this. And while he's explaining it, so I posted a message to the group that, you know, Peter needs some help, so consciously you want to join him and be a part of it. And then you connected it with the Tomorrow War. You said this is like the Tomorrow War.
Oh, it is.
You said, I know what this is.
Yeah. I mean, they show them fighting. The aliens that they're fighting are exactly what Peter's talking about, the Chimera. You know,
Yeah.
It shows them they're called something different. I believe the white
spikes or something.
White spikes.
Yeah.
But that concept is the same thing that's happening. You know, I mean, whether people like to believe it or not, we're fighting these things on our planet in the future. Like, and part of the thing that happened in the Tomorrow War was when they are about to go into the future and they get dropped into the future.
Right.
I actually have an abduction memory. You know, where you know, it happens. They come and take you when you're going to sleep. That's just what they do. And
Yep.
and I have the memory of, if you watch in that movie, when they get transported to the future, the process they go through, it's like they're going through this portal and vortex of light and all this stuff. And I had that same experience one time.
And then dropped from a high elevation.
literally dropped, because I'm just trying to explain to you, like, one of the times I remember when I got taken was I experienced that same thing. I remember seeing obviously my eyes were shut, but in my third eye, I was being sucked up in this tube of light. You know, I was being, and then I was gone for however long, you know, doing whatever, where they obviously they mind wiped me, trip chaired me, everything like that. And then I remember actually being returned back to my body like nothing happened, you know. So I remember them taking me and being involved in time travel. But then I woke up the next day, and that's actually after that, everything actually started changing very dramatically.
But I don't know. For me, I get aches and pains. I definitely feel it, and I know other people do as well. How about do you feel any pain or anything, residual effect?
Okay, for me, I know that this is what I experience different than most people, because I do a lot of, I mean, when I say a lot of meditation, I mean a lot. Like every single day, I wake up, I create my reality, I create my quantum field around myself, which is what we're really supposed to be doing, so we're not
Right.
Subjected to their reality. We have created our own. So that's what we do in the mystery schools, and that's what I've been doing every day. So when I go on my getting taken, and even when I get hit by energy weapons and stuff, my field is up. You know what I'm saying? And my health is good, and I know that that's one thing they don't like about you know, especially the bad guys, is that, like, I'm really not experiencing pain, or I haven't gotten headaches for 6 years now. So I'm really operating on a high level, and it has to do with thought, because they actually did in the movie Doctor Strange, you know, when he sees the Ancient One, they teach the same thing in the mystery schools, you know, how to connect to a reality, you know, where you're good, where you're healed, you know, and it has to everything thought. So, in vibration, and that's actually what they taught in the mystery schools of Egypt, was raising your vibratory energy, you know, so you can't be touched by disease, so you can't be touched by sickness. That's part of what I've learned, you know, and it works in my life.
Yeah, I could see that. I think with the Tomorrow War, I think it was I think it was very interesting in how they pull all these different people in that weren't expecting to go in. Some of them had a military background, some of them didn't, but
Exactly.
yet they knew what to do. So they were like super soldiers, but had not physically been in the military in that time.
It is the same thing for the secret space program, and who's recruited for the secret space program and everything. Sometimes there's vets, sometimes there's non-vets, but they all go to the future to fight a war, and then they get put back in this reality with those memories, and that's what you remember, is because I believe Michael Salla has it in his book, but there's a way they have a diagram of a super soldier's life, you know, because you have your regular life, and then you get taken for literally a whole nother life, a parallel life that you live out, and then when you reach the end of that one, they return you back to the time you were taken. And you have all those memories of that parallel timeline. Obviously they mind wipe you of it, but then they send you back in so you can operate in society, as normally as possible. That's what the mind wipes are meant to do. But the mind wipes aren't working more and more on more and more super soldiers. So we're remembering what we're involved in, and that's being a detriment to them because they don't want us. They didn't want us to remember, because if we did, it would start changing the timeline, because we are those star seeds and MyLabs and super soldiers are the catalysts to full disclosure. We're the catalyst and the connection to the ET, the whole ET component. And the more of us that are waking up to who we are, to what we've been involved in, and actually being like, oh, this was real, and believing it was real, because a lot of super soldiers haven't even reached the spiritual involvement yet to believe what they've been involved in, and it's pretty unbelievable. But I know through spiritual evolution, like what I've learned in the mystery schools and through just knowledge, I've learned how to believe the unbelievable through knowledge.
You can see like it's easy to take a look at it and say, this is my imagination, or I had this lucid dream. But if you just look at it and then discard it and say it was nothing but a dream, you're going to miss out on something, because it's telling you something that has impacted your timeline or your reality. And so it's good to, acknowledge it, understand what happened, and then send healing or protection or whatever it is that you need to do. And it will benefit people, overall. I mean, I found like, for years, I've been seeing visions since I was a kid. I was really young, and even involved in missions as a young kid, and I didn't understand what they were, and so my conscious mind would say, I'd reason it out. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to deal with it. And as I got older, and I started facing what was happening, my life started to come together. I didn't have the confusion or wondering why certain things weren't working out. And it started to make more sense. And then I started to embrace it when I saw that it was helping people. I was here for higher good, not just have these random experiences. And I do respect all of those that are participating, that are doing whatever they can. And there are many.
We're all here for the order of the highest good, as it is.
Right.
We're dealing with a force that has been very against. We've been going against the odds, but that's why we're getting the intervention and the help, and the things are changing, is because we have been going against the odds, but obviously we have demonstrated at a certain level we've reached a high enough level of consciousness so as to not to destroy ourselves like we have in the past, and so now we're getting intervention from our friends in higher places, and that's what's changing things, but it is because of the involvement we're going through, because of the tyranny and oppression and suppression and all that stuff. I mean, you can't do that for forever, until you're going to get a revolution. And that's what we're experiencing in our time, is the effect of all the stuff that they've been doing to us.
I believe that was is it Klaus Schwab that said you will own nothing and you'll be happy. So they're trying to you tell everyone to just be submissive. Be submissive. Just accept this lot in life, that you're a slave, that you're destined to have nothing, that it doesn't matter how hard you work, that you'll still get the same amount. So don't make any effort. We're gonna tell you what you need to do. We're gonna set everything up for you. We'll tell you where you can live, but you won't own anything. It's not yours anymore. And it's like this whole thing. I mean, ultimately their plan is very, very bad for all of us. Very bad. And
yeah, it's to kill us and enslave us. I mean,
to just pick and choose who they do want around, but they don't even need us. They could just replicate us in a form that will be completely obedient, doesn't take any natural resources, and will just be there as workers, and that's it. And that's what they wanted, and that's why we bring in the information about cyberpunk.
This is it's a cyclical thing. You know, it's all cyclical. This has happened in the past.
The mud floods. We talked about the mud floods. Yep.
Yeah, and I I also wanted to touch upon another movie called Infinite, because you know, when I say these things are cyclical, as people are starting to waken up, they're going to start having deja vu, and they're going to be like, I swear to God, I've done this before. You know, I've done exactly what I'm doing, and it's because you have. You actually have in another life. And you know, I found reincarnation to be a truth, in that we actually incarnate here because we have unfinished business here on this earth, and that's why souls keep incarnating here, because part of reincarnation is accepting that you have died before, you know, and you've been to the other side, and you but what I've learned is you do choose where you go when you get there. And you know,
you have an agreement. Yeah, you sit down and you have an agreement of what you're going to do next according to your soul journey, and what it is that you need to experience or want to experience, and also the people that you'll be connecting with, that you've connected with in the past, that you need to resolve things.
I mean exactly. And that's part of the information that's obviously been kept from humanity, is that the information from the other side. That's why psychics are connected and can get that through. You know, people with that ability to have that connection to the other side. Because I know a lot of souls that are departing right now are actually getting on the other side and then choosing to reincarnate on Earth back here again, despite what's going on, because the future is bright. It is bright. We are going to be free. And so that's what I know is actually happening.
Infinite's a very interesting movie.
It touches directly on reincarnation in the beginning, because there's a society, obviously, that secret society that obviously is upholding the truth, that knows about the truth. They call themselves infinites, you know, and they find this guy, and the guy is, you know, diagnosed with schizophrenia and all these things, and his memory, like his dreams are, you know, paranoid delusions. But really, the infinite come in, and they get him to remember that he was reincarnated, because they present him objects, you know, of certain times in the past, you know, Aztec, you know, Spaniard, all this stuff, and he's like, you know, this is your, and then he remembers that he's reincarnated, and he's had these past lives, and then he retains his knowledge of his past lives, which is part of the mind control. And what we're dealing with here is because they've gotten rid of the Western way has been to get rid of reincarnation, so people don't remember what they forgot. You know what I'm saying? Like what we already learned in our past lifetimes.
Right. Well, people think that, you know, it's your life. You live it until a certain age, and then you don't exist anymore. And I recognized at a very young age that I had other lifetimes. And so there are many other people that have that within this certain belief system or construct in the West that's not accepted, but you already know that it's the truth. And in the movie, it was at Mark Wahlberg.
Especially when you have when you know it's a truth, when you have the experience, when you personally have the experience of remembering past lives in your dreams, and you know you're remembering that, you can't deny it anymore. So
no, and so then you start searching to see if other people have had this experience.
Like for any soul that's here on this earth, it's okay to realize that you've been through more than you think. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like the beginning of opening the door, is being like, I've been through way more than I believe that I have. But that actually explains why you are going through what you're going through.
I remember as a young
and why you're here.
I remember as a young child, it was a movie that actually helped me. It was called The Reincarnation of Peter Proud. and about this guy that realized that his girlfriend was actually his daughter, and her mother was actually his wife, and he had reincarnated and found them, and he had died at a younger age. And it's a very, very weird scenario, but that's the way it works. You gravitate toward those from your soul group.
Yes.
And you're trying to understand what's happening. But I remember watching this as a kid and saying, I know that's true. I knew it was true way back then. And when I was really, really young, I was exposed to Eastern thought through the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi when I was a really young child. I know that was planned, probably around the age of 7 or 8 years old. And my brother was a hippie, and thought it'd be kind of cool to bring me and my sister along. So the thing about this whole experience with the Infinite movie, Mark Wahlberg, who's a native Bostonian, it's kind of cool that he gets involved in a lot of this stuff. And they're essentially super soldiers. Yeah. He's, it's kind of, well, he's from Dorchester, he's one of the local kids from the city, but he's a super soldier. I mean, he's not just a regular guy that's reincarnating. So this is where it sort of is closer to what we're talking about. He comes in having elite knowledge. Not only that, he's a weapon master.
He really is on the good side. He's one of the ones that are on the good side. You can feel it from him, because I can go into super soldiers that I know that are fighters. Because I've been on the other side and seen other super soldiers like Tyson Fury. He's a boxer. Michael Jai White. Michael Jai White is he's a black martial artist. Jet Li. Like, these are actual, like, these guys are really for the good side. And so I can see the who is who, who's doing what they're doing to optimize the timeline,
And also another element to this is, I'm trying to remember the guy that is he called the Artisan? They know, just like the ACIO knows who certain people are, because I was ID'd as a child. They also, had identified the characters. They call him Heinrich, right? Some of them called him Heinrich, which is Mark. So Mark Wahlberg, and they ID him, and then he dies in the movie, right? And then they find him again. Only that time it's easy to remember, but he had, all these different things. But so there's that one person that can, or multiple people that can ID certain people, especially elite soldiers, that they need for certain events. So in this case, there was a major event of this egg, right? That the egg was going to destroy all DNA. And what's the COVD? It's an attack on the DNA.
Right. Yes, it is.
Look at the parallel there of. I don't think they intended to refer to what's happening here. It's almost like they did a roundabout way of showing us that the real battle here is against humanity. Bottom line.
For sure. I mean, to control us, and that is really the fight. Is it's real. And I mean, that's what I've understood too, is the whole evolvement of our DNA is how we can fight against that, obviously. And through the evolution of our DNA is actually doing things that we did in the ancient past. The way we lived in the ancient past, learning about, because Atlantis and Lemuria are obviously two myths that have been wiped from the history. So people don't know now that back then we had achieved a higher level of consciousness than we have now.
And DNA too. They had abilities that have been removed and wiped out.
And so that's what they didn't want people to know. So we're seeing a result of what they didn't want people to know we were capable of. But that's what I learned in the mystery schools that I'm in, especially Ramtha's mystery school. I'm very involved with Ramtha. I got enlightened to having a past life in Lumeria, being part of his army in that time. I even remember a memory of being in Lumeria, and it was out of this world. You know what I'm saying? Because it was from a past life. But that was part of my education in understanding who I was and being reincarnated, and what my purpose was here in this life, and that I came back for unfinished business. And as time goes on, my purpose becomes more clear, through what's unfolding in time, and why I came here. So.
Right.
And that really has been that really was for getting through this whole collapse, and what I learned in the mystery schools, because what most people aren't going to have the knowledge of is what's happening, and one but the key thing to knowing is once we get through this, all of this, what's on the other side, that's what's important to realize. What's on the other side of all this, which is the future, which is all the technologies given, which is where we go one, we go all. What they've been holding back from us, we will get again, but we just have to make it through all of this that we're going through right now.
Right, and some of us have a specific role. Each one of us having a specific role. If there's anyone missing, then it makes it harder. So all those that are involved picking up their role to help at this time. And that's why we've been awakened. That's why there are people that you'd say that maybe have nothing in common, but aside from this, like in the infinite words, it's really interesting because it does remind me of all the different people that don't look like they would normally be interacting, and here they are working together, all having little, different abilities, and contributing
that's
to whatever has to happen.
That is the future. Community is the future, not separation.
Right. And absolutely, not the competition and all the crazy stuff that.
The future is all of our abilities co-oping, like a co-op
right.
of helping each other out in communities. And
there's no one hero. There's no one hero, although there may be someone that does something outstanding, but there's
it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Yeah. It just doesn't.
From when you're in the Marines, you guys, you had to cooperate.
Right. We do, and we work together, and thing that I learned there. I learned, you can take that military aspect out in the world and work together that way. Like that's why I'm glad that I'm a veteran, because I can get people to work together, by being the example. And that's why it's important for us to be the examples of how we want to live, in a cooperative community, where we're all helping each other out. That is what the message is coming through, is for, like you said, you have powerful people that listen, to you. We have to look at the future here and what we want to get away from and what we want to get to. You know what I'm saying? Like mm-hmm. home, self-sustainability. Everybody's got a purpose. Everybody's got, is contributing to something. And that's gonna, that is gonna lead to like homelessness being taken care of and all this. Right. Like there is an answer to how to fix all this, and it's going to come through us cooperating with each other and getting together, because together we are more. And that's what you say, like the battle has been against humanity, to separate us, divide us, through all the different means that they've been doing. But our nature is to be together and helping this planet out. And so that's what I believe in an inevitability is, because even the elite know that's an inevitability, that we are going to come together, and that's our and we're doing it right now. Like day by day there's more people awakening. Like I said, the organization that I'm a part of sees it, and there's 3 different sections right now. and where we're at the point in time, the nexus point in time, to where it's like, what side are you going to be on? Are you on the dark side? Are you for evil and self, service to self, all that stuff? Are you in the middle, which is the gray? Are you which they call the ignavi? You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. You don't know where you're going to go, dark or light, or you're on the light side. Bringing, working the light and bringing those people that are in the gray area to the light. And, it's gonna
even on the dark can come over too at any
yeah,
moment.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can make that
shift. Yeah,
as long as there is the light, shining.
Yeah.
And being the light, then there's that possibility, and I know that's kind of like in the times we're in, but the light is winning. It's and that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't. So it's that's what I see is happening right now.
Yeah, we have the like I said, the Infinite Wars really depict a lot of what I feel like is a paradigm, understanding a little bit of how these people are coming through and how they're lending their abilities, and how someone might really be helpful in making the change of what needs to happen here, because they remember. And it's a great call to bring up that movie.
I mean, part of I actually remember a memory, where I was getting sent back in time. And I was talking to Gabriel Kruger. Gabriel Kruger was personally talking to me, and he was saying, what you're doing is going to save everything. It's saving everything. So I remember that memory of getting sent back, because I know that part of my volunteering is experiencing what I experience in the in the future, in the parallel timeline that's bleeding through, and then coming back and then relaying that information, in the now, to really bring together the continuum, between the future and now.
And you have a unique connection to Lincoln Clay.
Yeah, I personally do, because I am in his squad. I am working missions. I am working those missions. I personally, I can go through missions, I remember, but I am working against, rescuing children, evacuating, people from planets, stealing, stealing plans, gaining information, even assassination. You know what I'm saying? Because I personally, I do believe, I've been in the military. If someone needs to be taken out, they need to be taken out. Like if they're doing bad, and they like horrific things, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's I have in my soul, I actually believe that they need to be taken out.
Yeah,
So,
and we're not going to skirt the issue. I mean, it's military, and that's the role. I mean, it's either the innocent get harmed or someone protects. And so someone has to be there. Yeah.
Like I just in the mission aspect of it, some missions are successful and some aren't. You know what I'm saying? Just to talk about one mission, I remember I was obviously infiltrated into the CIA, because I remember the memory. I was in the parking garage. I was in the parking garage, and I remember seeing people walk around in suits. So I was on a facility where people were walking around in suits, and I remember walking up to basically a checkpoint, and that it was a security checkpoint, and they asked for my ID, and I gave them the ID that I had, and I got through the checkpoint, but then obviously my cover was blown. And I got immediately approached and tased and then interrogated, and I remember all that. So that's one memory of obviously the times where it doesn't go according to plan. But we as super soldiers, we get involved in so many missions where we're getting killed, but sometimes we do make it back too, So that's just part of what we
Well,
go through.
sometimes you're using avatar bodies as well.
Well, yeah, that's yeah, you are. I mean, you are using most of the time you are. You know, consciously, your consciousness is put into an avatar body because it is expendable. You know, it is expendable, and your consciousness can get, you know, pulled back into your body if you're dying. If that body gets, you know, you'll get pulled back. Your consciousness will return to your original vessel, obviously. But so that's part of the technology, you know, that they have with consciousness transfer and whatnot.
Yeah, it's pretty complex. So the other topic is as our world is changing and the different things that are happening with this administration, if you call it that, the debacle of what happened in Afghanistan. And I thought, you know, I'd like to talk to Anthony about this because Anthony has been over there in the Middle East, or at least Iraq. And, you know, I just wanted to have your opinion about all the equipment that was left behind, people that were left behind, even the animals, military animals that were left behind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Obviously, this is a very sensitive topic that I'm gonna just give you what I know about. You know, so in learning about world event, there's so much going on that I mean, I'm constantly trying to just keep tabs on everything that's going on. And what was going on in Afghanistan, I heard a little bit about it. You know, how we did pull the troops out, you know, and left everything over there, you know, pulling the troops out, left the refugees over there that were responsible for giving, you know, us information that were helping bringing down
right.
the Taliban and whatnot. And then when we left, the Taliban has just been taking everything back over. You know, there's pictures of them and kids paddle boats, you know, with RPGs and machine guns because they're taking.
Those are the swan boats. It was the swan boats, right?
Right,
yeah.
Right. So it's clear that they're taking back over everything. And the big question I obviously people are asking is why all of our gear was left over there. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I was in the military. Obviously, I'm wondering that too. I'm wondering, okay, why the fuck would you do that? So what I have come to, I mean, and I am I consider myself clairvoyant, you know, clairsentient, all those things. I do a lot of meditation to make the connections with the information. But what I believe, I heard that this could be a part of is it could be a part of helping set up for the to carry out the narrative of the fake World War III scenario. I'm not sure exactly what leaving all the weapons is, but it's obviously they're getting ready to show war in a certain way to the people. I don't know who exactly the Taliban are going to be fighting against. Maybe it's going to be against the aliens. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's
or us.
Or us. That's what I'm saying is the future is never set, but it's going to be against someone. It's going to look like it's against somebody.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that us leaving over all of our stuff is to kind of carry out the false has something to do with carrying out the false World War III scenario. That's all I think. I think that's why that.
Yeah, I mean,
because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
As a military guy, it must have been shocking to see something like that, where, you know, some of your fellow soldiers over there putting their life on the line just to try to create some peace over there. And I know that there's some controversial stuff.
Here's the good thing about it, though. Here's the good, like, because I'm looking at each side. You know, I don't see things bad or good or whatever, but Okay, good thing about it is, okay, our troops are out of Afghanistan now.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, good thing about it is we're actually starting to harbor those refugees. You know, they're starting to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? And we're starting to bring them over here and stuff. And so now people are able to get out of maybe a situation that was not really a winnable situation. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean,
Like
the whole like entanglement with the opium and
oh
the
yeah, no,
poppy and fields
the
and
best idea. I think
yeah.
it's the best idea in the world that we're out of Afghanistan.
Yeah, but to
Not
do
be
it
over
in
there.
that way was extremely humiliating. But I talked to Peter about it, and he said that this was planned. And I said,
Right.
well, what do you mean that this was planned? He says, well, they deliberately wanted our non patriotic administration who doesn't like the United States. Yeah. And they wanted to give away weaponry that was ours because they're not with us. I mean, they're not, in my opinion,
That's clear.
those in charge are not American. They're working for the money, because everything that you see is they're getting more and more money from people. They want to tax everybody heavily, and they're filling their pockets. I know that, like Governor Newsom just got $1 million house just for free because he could, and a multi-million-dollar house. They're doing this type of stuff. They're getting money from.
I hope they enjoy that. I hope they enjoy all that for the time being, because that's not going to matter for very much longer.
Right. And they're definitely, they've taken advantage of it. And but I did hear that there is a relationship between China and the Taliban, and that too. All of this was sort of, you guys were gonna will help you take control of the United States. We'll help you get whatever you want. You'll get paid heavily. Just keep taking from the people, let everything collapse, and then just give them all the pull out, but don't take any of the equipment, and so that they can have some more military equipment that they need for whatever agenda that they wanted. So I mean, it was
that makes perfect sense. That does make perfect sense. And obviously we're all trying to understand what the hell's really going on, because nothing is as it appears, because we're breaking through all the mind control and all that stuff, and nothing is as it appears. But there is something major going on that's leading up to like a crescendoing event here that's going to be globally acknowledged. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, and I've learned in the mystery school that I'm in for years now. My teacher Ramtha, mentor Ramtha, has referred to as, he's like, we are preparing humanity for a grand event. And they actually refer to it as the Great Intimidation, is what they refer to it, because what I believe that is things are going to get, things are so out of control right now that, I mean, the elite are going to end up showing what they got in disguise. You know what I'm saying? And trying to maintain control and all that stuff. And I've even talked to Peter about this, and I've even actually seen it in my dreams. But people are going to be seeing things that they've never seen in the sky, and at first they're gonna wonder, is it good or bad, or what am I seeing, or and they're gonna see the elite stuff first, which is obviously going to be incredible, but it's going to be obviously not for the best intention. But then there's going to be kind of like a trumping of their technology with our friends in higher places technology.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to show what they got, on the level that they got it. So it's going to be like, oh, you see one thing, and then it's going to be like you see another thing that's even greater than that, and then you're like, whoa, what the hell is even going on? And so there's going to be a lot of different reactions from that, and I understand that. I mean, that's pretty much what I believe the event is going to be, is what they refer to as the Great Intimidation. But not being in fear and knowing what's happening is going to be the key, and that's why like super soldiers, star seeds, all of us that are here, planted here, are going to be necessary. Not only recognized, you know what I'm saying, but but sought after, by people, because people are going to want to know what's going on. So
Right.
and that time we've been waiting for is like approaching.
Yeah, and we're at an amazing crossroad right now, because we have those from the future that are here, those are from the now, those the militaries on, a bunch of groups, not just governments, are venturing out into space. So they're bringing in all sorts of different types of energies. We've got bleed-throughs, and I'm not saying that this is all good, but we're talking about an array of things that I don't think historically this planet has experienced.
Oh yeah, this is the first time that we've ever gone through anything like this, because
Right.
we've destroyed ourselves in the past and didn't get past destroying ourselves and being able to evolve into a higher civilization.
Right.
So
You're right. That's why we don't remember it, because it's sort of like the flash flood, everything just went away.
I actually remember, because I do know, I'm going to talk about Atlantis, because I know, Atlantis was mythological, because they did that on purpose to consciousness, because they didn't want people to know that we'd reached higher levels of consciousness. But I know through my teaching, by my teacher Ramta, he talked about what happened back then, how the Atlanteans, they were actually experimenting with technology, lasers, and all this stuff, and they were learning how to travel on light. They were learning how to do that, and they were going so high that they actually pierced the atmosphere, and that's actually what caused the whole flood and everything like that. And they pierced the atmosphere, caused the whole flood. I remember memories of being involved and seeing the waves coming and taking us out. I remember being alive back then when that happened. So it's like I know why it happened, why there was the Great Flood, why and obviously they don't go into the Bible about Atlantis and the technology and stuff that was used, to make that happen, but it's why it did happen. So
yeah, I was in Atlantis too, and I remember there was this. They were calling it the Four Corners. I was a priestess, and we used to do atmospheric clearing on a regular basis. Me and the other priestesses, and we'd be very high up in these buildings, and the buildings were created with our thoughts. We could manifest it. We could work with matter and move things.
I mean, that's what we could do.
It's what they said. The viruses, a lot of the viruses that we've had, that were not manufactured here, came from, from space, different types of things falling, from space onto our planet. And, they would bring different types of microbes and all sorts of bacterias and things. And so in Atlantis, we would clear it regularly. We would take that and shift whatever that was that didn't belong there, or that could be harmful to people.
Well, the real truth of everything is magic is thought. Thought is everything. Thought is everything.
Right.
And we're getting back to that, to and even in the mystery schools, that's what they taught us, is how to create things with our thought. That's why we've had manifestations. I've had so many manifestations that I did get through thinking it over and over and over again. And I understand that we are star seeds, and in like all of us we are actually placed here to be the birth of a new generation. Like, it's not even about the time we're like us, it's about what comes after us. You know what I'm saying? And so we're here to be the birth of a new generation, to remember everything we forgot, in the ancient days, and then establish that way of living on the earth to change everything, to get us out of the fighting, the wars, the homelessness, the poverty, all of the problems. There is a solution. That's why we're here, to work together, to do everything that we are meant to do here.
Right. And and I brought that subject up about how that we used to clear the bacterias and viral elements, anything that was in the air, poor air quality, whatever. And we were able to do that. And so when the COVD happened, and I'm saying it like that on purpose, obviously, but when I told people, I said, we can literally diminish it. We can ask that the body rejects it. We can ask that none of this affects anyone, and that their mind, it doesn't go into a specific hive mind or transhumanistic effect. We can do this for them because they were violated. Their free will was violated because they were not informed correctly, because they did not test and actually create, like an injection that is like, when you really have like a little bit of element of a virus, and to get people to acclimate to it, that's a normal vax. But what we're experiencing here is not normal. We know that because they've added all of this other, the RNA and all. Well, I'm not going to get into all that, but I'm just going to say that we can manifest. We can, and I believe that. And people said, "Oh, she's a dreamer or whatever," but I know we've done it. We've done it before, and we can do it again.
I do too. I know that I know too. I've had the experience of manifestation, so I know it's possible. And
even for people that are not, a relative or anything like that, but they're just good people. They're innocent. I think we should manifest for them that they become liberated, that their body rejects it and eliminates it properly, and that they are liberated and freed, and that their mind is not affected by any of it. And I do this all the time, and I suggest that everyone do it that has the ability and has the desire to help others.
It is what we can do, and the power that we have to do something about it. Because most people are like, I like to quote Maximus Aurelius on the movie Gladiator. He says, "I am a slave. What difference can I make?" You know what I'm saying? But he actually ended up bringing down a whole empire. So, and it does start with our thoughts. So, if more and more people that start believing and start putting the intention forward, the faster it will happen, the more powerful it will become. And that's the ability that we have. That's our true heritage and what we're capable of is creating with our thought.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so you never give up. Never give up. That we're here to help. And there are certain aspects of this battle that we haven't been able to reach or prevent. But it doesn't mean that we're failures. It means that it's a hard battle. They've planned it. We didn't.
Never giving up is the key, because I can speak about manifestation for a second and never giving up. Because I am a fighter, so I just I know not to give up. And in the mystery schools, we learn about manifestation, and they teach you, no matter what, every day, despite of your lack, despite of your infirmities, despite of your your pain, your suffering, despite of all that, you know what I'm saying, your victimization, all that stuff, you get up every day, you know what I'm saying, and you put forward your intention on what you want, even though you may feel like you just can't, you know what I'm saying, you still do it, and day after day after day. It does take 21 days to change the neural net in a brain. Right. So if you do something for, they say 21 days, you'll change your thought process. And if you're able to work through all of your infirmities, you'll actually break through. And that they teach you that in the mystery schools. And obviously, the more people that are doing it, the example, you see the example of them doing it, and so you know it's possible. And so you can literally create whatever you want with your mind. That's the premise of the mystery schools, because they taught this in to the pharaohs in Egypt and everything. I actually remember past life memory of being in the pyramids, being initiated in the pyramids. But so all this, that's why all this remembering, this knowledge is coming back to me. And I know that you literally, because there's a teaching in the school where our teacher Ramtha, there's students and they're talking about manifestation. They're like, okay, how long would it take you, to get the house of your dreams, or the love of your life, or whatever you wanted? And people were equating it out, and it's like, okay, it would take me 30 years, 27 years, to pay off this loan and all that stuff, but there's a way of manifestation that all you do is sit there and think about it for 3 days straight, constant focus, and it will magically happen. That's the power, but you have to build you can't, obviously it's going to be hard to just sit there for 3 days straight, you know what I'm saying, or however long, an hour, 2 hours, whatever. But that's pebbles to mountains is what the education is about. Is you start little and then you keep building over time, right. And it makes a difference, and then you start seeing the results of what you're doing in your actual reality, that you're getting what you're thinking.
Right, and I think that's how they get people, is if they can steal that hope, if they can steal that dream. And people use this new term hopium, and it's used for discrediting a lot of people that they feel are expecting something different than what the administration, or just contrary to what's going on. And I think that if you steal someone's hope, you've won.
You have.
So you don't ever let anyone take your hope and what you believe you deserve to have. So people that have given up, a lot of people have given up and said, well, I can't do this. Well, my family has all, gone off and, gone along with the system, or they don't hear me anymore. Don't give up on them. Keep manifesting that they awaken. Keep manifesting, not beating them over the head with information, but keep manifesting that they're back, they're here, you're holding them, you're hanging on, because of the hijacking of the control system, the mind control, the propaganda, and all these different things that are very, very powerful. And just like sometimes you take everyone and just kind of hold on to them. You're gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be all right. And whatever it is, any negativity, any control systems, any slave systems, it's going to leave. But you have to hold on and know that change is something that you have to manifest on the inside, even though you're not seeing it on the outside. And a lot of people are scared. Get rid of the fear. That's another thing. If you take someone's hope and you create fear should not exist. No, I'm not saying that people should just jump out with their car and and do something crazy. So you have some sensible reaction to life, but fear that you're going to die or something horrible is going to happen. We're all going to die at some point. Okay, so come to terms with that. It's okay, because your soul is eternal. So get that part out of the way and say, I'm living my life the way I want to live right now. And I'm going to live my life the way I want to live it. And I'm going to speak out when I need to speak out. And I'm going to manifest that I don't get in trouble for speaking out. Have these little steps of creating a shield and something around yourself to further support what you're doing. We talk about super soldiers. We're all have an element of a superpower within us that we can harness and hold on to.
It's the same power, and it's called God.
There you go. It's all the life force energy. Exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah. and we've been up against the odds, being disconnected from that. That's what they knew to disconnect us from, is that source that we're all connected to, the creation, the source of creation. They've been able to separate us from that through mind control, because if you control the mind, you actually control the soul too. And that's why in the mystery schools that I'm in, it's all about mind, controlling your own mind, and getting yourself out of brainwashing. It's not a cult that I'm in. Like, a lot of people misunderstand Ramtha's mystery school because they haven't been in there and studied, but it's not a cult. It's actually a mystery school that is meant to brainwash people out of the brainwashing and into being able to do disciplines where you're actually creating thoughts to control your own mind, which is actually creating reality. Which you once you get the experience, it's so profound that you're like, wow, I'm really doing this. I'm really making a difference in reality. So the more people that are awakening, because you awaken out of them, but they're gonna need to have a new way of thinking implemented, and that's why the teachings, the ancient teachings, have been preserved throughout time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that they could be taught again to the people now at this time, because there is a book that Ramtha wrote called The Mind Gladiators of the Future. And basically, he always knew that he would have the school in this time, and he'd be teaching people how to use their minds, how to remote view, how to be telepathic, how to all the things. And there are so many people in the school that are that, and they even send the CIA in there to study the school. But those people that are learning what is taught in the mystery schools, which is the teachings of the past, they are going to be recognized as lights to the world, because they're not mind control. They're actually creating from their mind.
Yeah. Well, you talk about a lot of the esoteric. I mean, there's many roads. There's many roads to find your enlightenment, find your space. And I know a lot of different people that have gone down many different paths, and of course there are people that listen that are Hindu and Buddhist and so forth, and Christian. I mean, some people have very profound experiences as Christians, but one of my incarnations was Madame Blavatsky, and I know that I had recall of a lot of knowledge at a young age, and I didn't understand fully how I knew many of these different things. But yeah, we've all been down these different paths. I
was probably part of a school with you being Madame Blavatsky, because when I started waking up to being a super soldier, obviously I got interested in everything Nazis, mind control, but like the esoteric teachings, by Madame Blavatsky and Manly P. Hall and all that, all started coming to me.
And it was because of the visions, and the way that she has visions is very similar to the way I had it. Especially before, where you're just like, what in the world's going on? And when I read about her testimony, I'm like, I understand what she went through, because you're getting all sorts of information bombarded at you, and it's coming in night and day. And so the experience is understanding the world, the non-physical world, and how it operates. And there's the natural, or in the not seen laws of the universe that they started to develop, and this is the stuff where it goes into the Nazis, and my experience there as one of the Vril, and they used me as a psychic to communicate with the Aldebaran group, which I still am able to communicate with. And in that space, it wasn't so much like I was never really involved with the abuse or mistreatment of people, but unfortunately there were those around me that were getting into that kind of stuff, because even the esoteric can get into like sacrificial stuff. The Nazi stuff got into, you know, harming, you know, some innocent people. But the part that we're focusing on is more of the metaphysical understanding, and also which leads to an understanding of time travel and advanced tech and gathering knowledge from the extraterrestrials and all of these others. So
if anybody wants the veil dropped, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what that's the studies that you get into. If you want the veil dropped, get into esoteric metaphysical, you know, studies, and that will drop it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you start seeing that there's a whole different array of information, and
I mean, life becomes a lot more expansive, like, because you are experiencing life on many different levels and dimensions, and you start to have dreams, and you like your life in your dreams becomes more real than your actual life. Like it's amazing when you start to really go deep into those studies, like what you learn about yourself and what you're capable of too. Like
yeah, I mean, it's there's a journey that you go through. I think I spent, I don't know how many, about maybe 4 years or so of doing in-depth research on multiple regressions and trying to figure out who I was. And you know, and then of course, you know, you meet someone like Peter who just, you know, can open up he has a specific computer. I know a lot of people claim to get the same information as Peter, and that's not correct at all.
They don't.
Not just because Peter's just privy to it or whatever, but he literally has a very, very old type of system that he has access to, and he's allowed to use it from the ACIO, which is thousands and thousands of year old organization. And so when I hear people say, well, I'm going to give you the same information as Peter, there's no possible way that you have that information. There are people that saying, oh, I'm going to remote view into a space. No, they're already multiple steps ahead of you. So they'll might send something back to let you think you saw it, but they're not going to let you really in there. That's just not something that's going to happen. I think that now the Akashic Records is something that I have access to, and we all have access to our own personal Akashic record because it's a part of our soul. So your soul has a history of anything and everything you've ever done. It's right there in you. As long as you still have a soul, it's there.
They call the soul the recorder. It's the recorder because it records your memories of everything. So it's like the more esoteric we get, the more inward we get, the more access we'll get to our soul and our memories in our Akashic records. And then you can see past lives, you can see parallel lives, you can see future lives. You can get it all. Like and so that's our heritage, like, is us all being connected again to our souls, you know.
But there's a purpose behind it, and this is something that hardly anyone ever talks about, is that certain lifetimes come up because there's actually some kind of parallel, or there's an interaction with some of the souls from that lifetime that have to be resolved, or there's an understanding. I always say the understanding is greater than you know, this like fantastic experience, because the understanding is actually what brings you forward in your life experience. So your soul journey,
moving forward,
moves you forward. You want to move forward, and just gathering data is not what it's about. It's literally to lift you. And you know, when I've worked with people and they say, well, they have this problem or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like their back gets lighter, like it's actually a weight of energy, whatever, you know, something that maybe was a trauma or karma or some incident that keeps people stuck in some way in their soul journey. And when you identify what that is, and people say, well, I want to know about this, I want to know about that. Was I in Egypt? Was I? And it's not about that. It's about being you in some kind of scenario, whatever that scenario is, to find out and literally unlock the key of understanding of where you're going to go next, because you're going to resolve something. So you're solving your own puzzles, you're solving your own spiritual challenges. And that opens up sometimes to new gifts, new abilities, new understanding.
New opportunities.
New opportunities. Everything starts moving forward. So it's like a lot of people are on like a treadmill. And right now, we need to get people off the treadmill and moving forward in their soul journey and understanding why they're here and on a personal level. And then when you understand why you're here on a personal level, you have greater capacity to help others.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is the truth. And I mean, because I felt the feeling of being stuck, but I've also felt the feeling of the relief of moving forward. And I'm feeling that now in my life is I'm moving forward to something greater, to something bigger. It's all coming together. And I know that a lot of people, like, it's inevitable that we are going to get unstuck out of this. We're getting unstuck right now, and things are moving faster right now as day after day. The more unstuck we get, things are happening faster. We're clearing things out for more things to come in. And so we can move forward because we have to move forward together to get to the next level, which I understand is going to be a type 1 civilization, where we have free energy, where the whole world is changed, because we actually are going to take the technologies, because through our education, we're not going to misuse them now. So we have to go through this process, to learn about ourselves, and then the technology will be gifted to us when we are ready to include,
to not misuse it. Yeah.
Not misuse it. That's what I understand is happening. So, but I understand that is on the horizon, for the world as the cabal elite, all the negative, nefarious people are getting taken out because they are trying to run away. They are trying to hide in underground bases. It is a war. It is going to take some time. Once they're all done and all eradicated, I've even had memories of the future, where I'm getting access to my files. I'm getting huge amounts of funds to make things happen. You know what I'm saying? I've had those memories of that happening, and I know that is going to happen, because people are going to the redistribution of the wealth in the world is part of what's going to be happening through Nessera and Jessera. I know that's actually happening because I've been with Donald Trump, obviously as a super soldier, going around the world, instilling this, implementing this. So I know that this is a timeline that is actually happening, and a future that will be happening soon once this other timeline distortion is eradicated, through knowledge.
And maybe from the people that are listening that become unstuck and are able to activate their own abilities to do some of the things that they know that they're here to do. Maybe by this conversation, we can manifest.
I mean, it's definitely time, and it's only more and more time as time goes on. Because either you're gonna do it or you're not, and you're
I know they want you. So many people are frustrated, like you can't imagine, and they just really want to be able to do something. And I look at them and said, just to get them through, get through,
Yeah.
Recognize what it is that's stopping you, and then fly. And
that's the time we're in. I mean, it is kind of like a survival time, but we're going to be out of that soon. We've been surviving for aeons, but we're freeing ourselves from that survival type reality. And we're going through the growing pains and all that stuff of doing it. But we have had enough of all this because it's just crazy what we're seeing right now. But those of us that are lights, that want to stand up for what we believe in, nothing will be able to bring you down, because even the school that I'm in, the Ramtha school. I mean, there are many different avenues of learning the truth. But I'm speaking about the mystery school I'm in, because mystery schools and what they teach in mystery schools are important, because it's like elite knowledge. But this school is part of not keeping that a secret. So what has been happening is, if you belong to the future, if you put yourself in the future, if you preserve yourself, you will be preserved to get there. You know what I'm saying? And this school that I'm in, there have been many attempts to try to discredit it, disfame it. You know what I'm saying? Just whatever they could do. There have been people that have driven by the school, drive-by shootings, just to try to take it down. But the school still stands and remains. You know what I'm saying? Because it belongs to the future. So it's like, if you put yourself in the future, that you belong to the future, you will be preserved to get there. That's what I understand.
I think that's good advice. I agree. And I think people should be able to express whatever their views are, and if they're not hurting anyone, just leave them alone. You don't agree necessarily, or you do agree. That's part of the diversity of who we are here. There's different people, different races, different species, different cultures, different belief systems. That's just the way it is. And you don't have to agree, but you don't have to harm anyone that does. But anyhow, there's a lot to, like you said, those that are in that situation, they have their belief system. And years ago, I went to a Bible school because that was my belief system at the time. I wouldn't go there now, but I went to Oklahoma, and there were a lot of tornadoes, and the president of the school said, "We will always be protected, and we will manifest protection here." And I remember going to school one morning, and a bunch of other classmates showed up with their cars, and we just sat there in the street, like parked in our cars looking. One side of the road was completely wiped out, like all the way down to the ground, nothing. And the school itself was untouched. Not a single thing moved.
Yeah,
and that was, so this was someone that just believed that they should be intact and that they would be protected. And I learned something that day. I learned something, because if you've ever been in a tornado, it's a powerful force.
Mm-hmm. And
I've literally seen them pick up a house and spin it around and drop it back down in the same place. It's kind of a natural phenomenon, and extremely powerful. It could take a piece of straw, and at the end of the tornado, you can see literally the straw going through like a knife into a tree.
Right.
That's how fast the winds are.
I mean, but obviously, there are forces that we don't understand, but we're seeking more and more to understand those forces and seeing how powerful they are with being connected to them. The
earth, nature, even manufactured nature. You know what I mean? Weather manipulation, so forth. We can still utilize our connection to the earth.
We control the weather. We can control the weather. They have actually reverted to technology through geoengineering to control the weather. But those that are light workers, starseeds, and all that, we can just do it with our minds and our emotions.
We can block and we can protect, and
we actually have that power to do it. Like, like obviously, this has to do with the astral realm and fighting on that level. But yeah, we can reverse everything. That's been actually my whole mission here has been to reverse everything that they've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that their efforts were futile. Whatever it is that they thought that they were supposed to do here, whatever.
And we're having an effect. Obviously,
Right.
we are having an effect because they are on their last leg right now. Obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? Desperate. Desperate. Going. They're totally losing control because
they were afraid because the facade's lifting, and everyone's seeing who they are, and they're afraid. They don't want everyone to know.
Their existence is getting revealed.
Yes.
Which was their safety, was their covert. Them whether they're real or not. You know what I'm saying? Was kind of like the big thing of the world, whether they're real or not. But now we're getting more that they are real.
Right.
They are real. And
they were like ghosts. People thought they were fictitious characters that were running things, like, oh, that can't be true. There's no hidden societies running anything. And now people are seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And the more and more their existence gets revealed, the faster and faster they will get taken out, which is happening right now. People are getting locked up in Guantanamo Bay. There's been executions. It's really happening. It's
clones. There's definitely clones.
Right.
You can see
there
it.
Is to maintain the narrative. Yeah, they're going to clone their people and they're going to keep their narrative going. That's why all these clones are just soulless. You can tell which ones are just not even. And you can just see their plan right in front of their face. They're being allowed to carry this out, but it's all gonna be explained as time goes on, and the veil gets lifted more and more every day. So
we never talked about the Black Widow. The Black Widow is another movie, and
right.
My Labs. Talk about My Labs in the beginning and how they have made up families. All the stuff that we've been talking about with the secret space programs and even just the MyLab programs alone, and how they take people, insert them in fictitious families, or they have them, living in these facilities and training or doing whatever they're doing. I mean, it was pretty clear with that movie.
Yeah, that was very clear. Because in that movie, they take my labs, they take abductees, and then they bring them to an organization where they train them to just become assets, basically assets to be utilized by the elite around the world. And there are obviously super soldiers that are part of that wake up to that. You know what I'm saying? That wake up to that this is going on. They call it the okay.
And there we are. I froze.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was not by coincidence, because I know when sensitive information is getting talked about, that they tend to do that. Yeah, Black Widow is for military abductions. That's exactly what a MyLab will go through, like through their whole life, is being groomed,
handled,
handled, trained, and then it's obviously for
tracked.
The MyLab. Yeah, tracked, exactly. For the MyLab personally to wake up out of their mind control and then free themselves. And that movie depicts basically a MyLab that is awakened to the truth. And once you find out what's going on, you cannot stand for it at all. Like, it's so horrific and maniacal that you will do anything to fight against it. And that, I mean, that you could say that's a good show about a Kruger operations. You know what I'm saying? Like people that are involved with Kruger are fighting against those other forces in a covert war that no one sees. But
right.
we're
like the elite special forces that are hidden, not from corporations. They're more corporations than they are just military.
It's going on in the background. I mean, just
Yeah.
one mission, I recently had, like, to give you an example, is I had to take out one of those MyLabs that they have in there that they're using to kill people and to do all that stuff. I was actually involved in for Kruger, involved in capturing one of those MyLabs that were sent out on their mission. I was sent out to intercept them because I remember being in a town where there was a protest going on, and I know that part of the operations that the elite are doing is they're getting operatives to go into these protests, and they're getting snipers out there. There's getting people to cause all kinds of ruckus. But I was actually there, and there was a guy that fired a sniper shot, and then I saw him. He was in a high-rise building, and then he actually came down from the roof, slid down this pole. He was sliding down the pole, to get down to the bottom to run away after he took the shot. And this was a mission recall that I was having. So he took the shot, slid down the pole, and then he started running away. And then I started running right after him to cut him off. And I took him and I threw him on the ground, and I just started beating him down because he was one of the ones being used for a monarch, or something being used to put their agenda across. And that's just part of the covert war going on. Is there's super soldiers fighting against each other.
There are a lot of movies that are
which is depicted in Black Widow completely.
Yeah, there are a lot of movies revealing how these private corporations find someone that they feel has abilities or talents, and then hires them, and then enhances them. I mean, we've looked at there's a whole list of them, of movies revealing this information. They're not pulling that out of a hat. It's actually going on. It's been going on for a long time, and it's just getting more and more like transhuman in their process, but that definitely there's much enhancements happen in there, and you're seeing that these are two sisters too, or seeming sisters.
And that aspect goes very much into how much in the family it is. You know what I'm saying? It does all lie in the family genetics. My family, that's what you said. There are people moved into your life to groom you. My family, there was a German family that was moved into my life. All of them were trained to be pilots and in the military, and they were put into my life to adjust my future, and that the same, to train me. And it does lie in the family because my sisters and brothers are all super soldiers as well. Whether they know it or not, that they are. One of my little sisters she's actually waking up to it more and more. But if you're in the family and you're part of you're going to be part of the program. If you have been a MyLab, your whole family is involved for sure.
Right. You're right. I mean, if they're showing up,
whether they know it or not.
Yeah. If they're showing up in your household when you're a child, very likely everyone else in the house is scanned. Including your parents,
Yeah, and plus even memories get erased. Memories get erased from family members around you when unusual things happen to you as a super soldier, because you're involved in getting experimented on, time travel and everything. When anything unusual happens that could be questioned, they literally do go in and Men in Black people and neuralize your family of any unusual things that could happen. So people's family members are even getting neuralized without their consent or knowing, to keep everything secret.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's one or two in the family that remembers. So then they're looked at as the odd or the crazy one, or, someone that needs help. And that's why shows like this are important, because so then people can know that, hey, there's other people out there like me, and so I can then get through this. This is kind of a challenge. But I think it's saved quite a few people, so they can understand a little bit about what's going on, and it makes them feel better, and also take more control of their personal life. And
it does.
Yeah.
It brings relief. The knowledge brings relief, and that's what we all want is relief. And so that's what we're all inevitably really working towards is relief. So that, the way of nature, the way of the universe is inevitability. So if we all want the same thing, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Now we've talked a lot about many of your different experiences and in different shows that we've done together, and I've heard your recall and so forth.
There was, okay, yeah, you can finish with that, but I'll
yes.
go into what I wanted to talk about after.
So there is someone was sharing some information that you were a part of a mission,
right? Okay,
that had to do with Max Spears, and you like Max Spears. Is that correct?
Of course. Yeah. Oh, of course I like Max Spears. Max Spears is the man, like he's the beginning, like he's really the pioneer.
Shared a lot of
Soldier.
information. Yes.
I've been on missions with him. I've actually participated on missions with him, and what I actually have been enlightened to, and this is I'm a veteran. I'm actually a real veteran. So in the veteran world, they have a thing called stolen valor. It's called stolen valor, and it's when people pretend like they were in the military. So they will make up stories, and they will like wear around the uniform, to get the attention, to get the acknowledgement and all that stuff. But none of their service was real or anything like that. And it's actually a federal offense to do that. And on that level, I can tell who's who. You know what I'm saying? Who's telling the truth. So now what I've identified is even in the super soldier community, in the super soldier, the secret space program, now we have people that are stolen valor in the secret space program. People that are coming forward with stories that are embellishing on a lot of stuff. The way that these people are creating their stories is they're doing all the internet research, and then they're taking what they find on the internet, and then they're putting together a story instead of it actually being personal experience. And right. So what I've learned about, and I will say their name because I have to, you know what I'm saying? I have to bring attention to this. And because even actually Johann Fritz will he has been enlightened to the same thing, and he actually with his fiance, with his wife, addressed this too, and he's saying the same thing I did. He's like, there's this guy coming out, telling extravagant things about missions, and he's using super soldiers that are actually super soldiers. He's using our names to corroborate his story. And so what I've heard is he said that I and Johann were involved in a mission to assassinate Max Spears, because this person is claiming that he was involved with the assassination of Max Spears, because he's claiming to be part of Dark Fleet. He's claiming to be part of Nachtwaffen. He's in that community. He's doing that. But basically, I was never involved in that. I was never involved in assassinating Max Spears or any of the claims that he's saying I'm involved in, like with this mission that he made up about taking out a reptilian. He basically used a picture that was on the internet that you would get access to if you were looking into conspiracy theories. and there was a picture of it was so fake, but it was these children holding up a reptilian head, you know, and I'll use it in quote marks, a reptilian head. It wasn't an actual reptilian, because I've seen reptilians and they don't look like that. They look way fucking scarier than that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So like he had that picture of this, you know, that I saw that picture a long time ago. You know, and he used that picture to create this whole mission that me, you know, he says Michael Jocko, he says you know, Johan, you know, he takes the people that have been, you know, credited as super soldiers, and then he puts us in there with him.
Real military guys too. I think
all of us, yeah,
Michael Jocko is also in the military.
Yeah, he took the cream of the crop, you know. He actually, I mean, when I say the cream, but he did take the real military people in there and put himself in there with him, which is a stupid idea because he was not military. So we are all able to just vet him out easily. You know, I haven't talked to Michael Jocko yet, but I know how Johan thinks about it. And this guy's name is Joseph Powell, and he's not telling the truth. You know, I can see it in his story and everything. It doesn't add up. I believe he's just doing that to be part of a community, to be accepted and acknowledged. And he's even he's actually going to a conference that I will be attending, the 5D conference in Vegas. I will be going to that, and he's going to that conference. So I'm not trying to, you know, start anything, but it will just be interesting to observe, you know, what is going on there, because I know who's the real deal and who's not. You know, like Elena Kapolnik, you, Michael Jocko, you know, Will, Johan, you know, Michael, you know, that's for the ACIO. You know, I know who's the deal. You know, and most of the time, I've learned that, you know, it's just you know who's real and who's not.
Yeah, I mean, there is a possibility this is something that he feels that he remembers. Mm-hmm. And I know that a lot of people have said some really bad things, lies or whatever about the ACIO, about Peter, about myself, and that's going to happen. That will happen. But you know, you just like to see them stop. Just you know, I'm sure everybody has their story. Everybody has their recall, you know, and stick with that, you know, and because sometimes the real thing is much more impressive than to try to bring in something else. And
inevitably the truth is going to come out, and so that's what I'm just.
The truth will come out. Yes.
And I'm not going to even try to.
But permission. I think if you're going to use someone's image, that you should ask permission. You know, if you're going to, you know, talk publicly about the ACIO, you should ask permission or be a part of the ACIO. You're not representing the ACIO. I see people doing conferences talking as if they represent the ACIO, and they don't. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking in my mind, why are they doing this? Is it because they don't have anything real in their own life? They should stick with their own information.
I mean, they're really, I mean, there's no like proof that they're not, you know what I'm saying? Besides their own story and maybe what other people think they're bringing forward, you know. So,
it's
but
confusing people. It's just confusing people.
If you're not real, your light's gonna fade. Your story's gonna fade out. You know, in time, you're not gonna be able to carry it on if it's not real.
I had a good friend of mine from the UK, and he's a great guy. He's very honest, just, you know, very straightforward. And he said it very nicely, because he knows the associates, those that are connected to the ACIO, and they said, I heard that some of the guys in your community are talking bad about Max Spears. And I thought about it. I was like, you know, I don't know anything about this. I said, I'm going to ask about it. I said, but to my knowledge, they liked Max Spears. So that you know, and not you weren't afraid of Max Spears.
Max Spears
is doing Max Spears
is doing exactly what we're doing, and he was killed for it.
He was put. Yeah, he
got to a high enough level where he's reaching enough people, where he could change things, and he was killed for it.
He put the information out. He put himself on the line.
And if whoever is fucking saying that they're responsible for that, this Joseph Powell guy is saying that, I wouldn't be coming out in the fucking, if I even was responsible for that, that's not something I would be gloating about or whatever.
No. Anyone from that has been around the Super Soldier program has to respect what he did. He really put himself out there. His family suffered. It was a tragic thing, and without him, a lot of information. I mean, he really opened the door, and so I was concerned myself, and I was like, that's not the road that we want to go down. That's not what we're all about. So thank you for coming forward.
Going down, I am on to him, and so are other people in the community as well, like Johan, and we're on to him. So that's just one person we're on to, but it's not. I'm not here to expose them and all that stuff. I'm not here to do that. I'm just
we could sit there and talk about others the way that they talk about us, and really bring out a lot of information about how, what we know about them, and for some of the things that they've been saying and no random reason other than they just want to discredit us, or maybe, they justify it saying that we've whatever. But that's not the direction that we necessarily want to go in. And I'm not like the type that likes to just ignore things either. And we are trying to make a cohesive environment for everyone. I mean, a lot of people, they don't need to see infighting. They don't need to see,
and especially in the community. That's actually in the UFO disclosure community. That is actually part of the Cabal's plan and the Deep State's plan. Yes. Was to infiltrate people and to start infighting between the community. But that in our platform on the disclosures, that's what I'm saying. There's no fighting here between us, because we're just coming forward with all the information unhindered, and right. And that, yeah. So
here's the
we're not trying to debate with any other people, communities, like we're just trying to bring everybody together, because we are all really working for the same thing, and there shouldn't be any fighting. We should be working together.
And there's a level of maturity where you can work together with others, even though they don't agree 100%. And that's fine. I think I was more concerned about the public thinking that you would be involved in anything like that. And when I know your integrity, that you would not even consider something like that. And so for it to come out of your own mouth, to speak for yourself, like I said, people are going to misrepresent or say something, then it's time to speak up and make sure that the message is clear, that you would never participate in anything like that. So
yeah, that has been clarified, because I know I'm doing good things, for the optimization of this timeline, and I will continue to do that. So
yeah, you're outstanding person, Anthony. I thank you. And thank you, because I respect your honesty, and I appreciate a lot of people don't know a lot of the stuff you do in the background. I've seen it, and I appreciate it, and I respect you as a super soldier and a regular soldier, and all the good things that are going to come forward. So we're shifting the timeline. We're trying to bring everyone together and create something that's much more powerful. If we get sidelined with all of this nonsense, and this is what it does, if those people were focused on helping the planet, in actually helping to bring forward information so that we could become liberated. I think that would be more helpful, and hopefully they hear this and think about what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to take some time, you know, to liberate this planet fully. This isn't just going on here, it's going on all around the universe galactically. It's just a giant liberation of everything. And we're just kind of like we're the big show in the universe, like, because we're in 3D, we're about ready to graduate. So that's why everybody's kind of gathered up here. Like, all our friends in higher places are just watching this go on right now, observing, you know, how this is unfolding for us and how we're gonna handle this and react this, you know, graduating to the next level. And so that's what I understand is in the process from a higher perspective, that is what is happening, is we're graduating. You know, we're graduating. So I'm here to facilitate, you know, to help facilitate that graduation, and you know, to bring out information, the truth. And I appreciate you acknowledging my honesty and my integrity, because I mean, it's taken a while to cultivate. You know, I've had to disconnect from the matrix. I had to disconnect from ego, you know, all that stuff. But I'm getting to a level now where I'm you know, getting more connected with my higher self and the greater good, and wanting to utilize my energy to really with the power of my mind and spirit, create the best, the optimal trajectory, the best future for this world, you know. And we can do that because the kingdom of heaven is within you. You know, they say that. And so the key to all this is us learning how to go inward and how to be esoteric, because it's not what's outside of you, it's what's within you. And being esoteric, when I started to learn, I didn't know what esoteric even meant when I started to learn about and awaken, but then I learned what esoteric meant. And then that's when all the teachings, esoteric teachings, came to me, and I started to obviously get the understanding what I was looking for. So I'm very involved in learning the esoteric teachings and the mystery teachings, and mysteries and secrets and illusions are basically my forte, you know. So
yeah, well, we're learning as we're going, and this is we've covered a lot of information for people to take in, so we'll probably have to get into another conversation at another time. And I want to thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate your perspective, and I think you know, I encourage people to add comments. And I'm sorry we don't do live shows, but there's still a place for people to add comments and say whatever they think. So thank you, Anthony Zender, for being here today. Until next time. Any last words?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And just like you said, just keep up the hope, because I mean, my hope never fades. Like, it gets hard sometimes, and even in the schools they say, you know, what happens about those days when you're getting up day after day after day and it doesn't seem like anything is changing, and you know, it's the monotonous drudgery day after day after day. Like, you do get those times, but you just keep going, and you know that you're moving towards something better. You know, there's angels are moving us towards, because we are higher than angels. They're actually here for us. So it's like, we are, keep the hope alive, you know what I'm saying, and know that we're moving to something better. That's the key. I know.
Okay, well, thanks again, and thank you everyone for listening today. Stay strong, and keep following us. Subscribe if you haven't, and you know, contribute. And we're going to put some links in there for Anthony, so if you want to contact Anthony. And everything's good. Let's keep going, and until another time, goodbye.
You have been listening to Andronetalks Radio. Join us on YouTube channel Jessica Arael Morocco, and visit her website at www.readingsbyareal.com.